Yes, thank you, Garcon. I'll have the,
Tell me when.
When?
Anyone say room for dessert?
Camp Lazlo holds a really special place in my heart, and I think it deserves to be talked about more, not just for its insane twist ending that we'll cover today, but also just as a show with nice, subtle sensibilities with a timeless atmosphere. Camp Lazlo is really a perfect summertime show, coming out in the summer of 2005, and despite it being March as I'm making this video, there's always a nostalgic sense of childhood simplicity, even when the show gets a bit crazy.
Take that! And that! No! They're gonna eat me! No! Put down that chainsaw!
The show follows the Boy Scouts of Camp Kidney, primarily the happy-go-lucky monkey Lazlo and his bunkmates Raj, the Indian elephant, and Clam, the pygmy rhino, who we'll talk more about later. Episodes often follow some kind of camp legend, tradition, or activity, like one episode has the Bean Scouts trying to raise money to buy a submarine, and instead of selling Girl Scout cookies, like the Girl Scouts, they sell these disgusting beans that Lazlo actually gets paid to stack up in a world record, as opposed to anyone eating them. Other episodes take in camp traditions like fishing or going on a snipe hunt, which isn't exclusive to summer camps, but is often associated as a rite of passage where people go out and hunt for a creature that doesn't exist, kind of as a prank. An episode like this works really well because Lazlo and his two friends of the Kidney Bean Cabin are the only characters foolish enough to believe in the snipe hunt, and while Scoutmaster Lumpus kicks back and laughs at the gullible campers, I always laugh at just how innocent and willing to help they are. Like, they're running around the forest in the middle of the night with phones, asking the snipe to pick up the call for him, and it's just kind of goofy and wholesome. Like, I can't not smile at this.
Mr. Snipe, please step up to the white courtesy phone.
Line 1 for Snipe.
Hello?
Later on in the episode, Scoutmaster Lumpus gets his comeuppance when he falls into the snipe cage he set up, and you see the innocence and eagerness of the campers actually working against Lumpus as they drag back their successful hunt. The formula for the show works really well, as Joe Murray, the series creator, describes his experience with camp and creating the show. Quote, "Then I remembered the fun we'd had with the Scoutmaster and how we all thought that he was just a transplanted city guy with a stick up his butt, so I broke down the basic premise. A scout camp. The main character, happy and disorderly. The conflict, happy chaos versus boring structure. I think Camp Lazlo complemented the shows around it really well. It came out at the time new episodes were coming out on Friday nights of Billy and Mandy, Foster's Home, Kids Next Door, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Hi Hi Puffy Yumi, and it's a lot more chill and wholesome. Not to say the other shows were mean, but it's a palate cleanser in a way. You watch Blue prank the whole Foster home, Billy stare at the sun and get horrifying corrective surgery, and then Lazlo comes on and you see a monkey try to make friends with the leech attached to his head, or they go on a hike with the camp nurse because he's been going crazy and needs a vacation. Also, the nurse is a nurse shark. Get it? A nurse shark? The leech episode is one of my favorite episodes, but it turns out it's not a leech, but a lamprey. And if you know what a lamprey is or looks like, you'd know how horrifying and gross this is. But also, like, who thinks of this? Also, the song in this episode is sung by Tom Kenny, probably most known as the voice of SpongeBob.
He's so cute, he should have a show on cable. I've got a hunch when we munch on lunch, they'll all want to sit at our table.
Tom Kenny voices both Scoutmaster Lumpus, the impulsive, selfish Scoutmaster of the camp, as well as Slinkman, Lumpus' friendly assistant, who's kinda like Smithers from The Simpsons, a well-meaning assistant to a narcissistic leader. But Slinkman has a lot of funny qualities to him, like he's not afraid to mess with Lumpus. There's an episode where Lumpus tries to uncover why every year on April 9th he gets pranked, so he sends Slinkman undercover as a camper to uncover which camper is pranking him. But it turns out Slinkman's been behind this prank every year because Lumpus always forgets today is Slinkman's birthday. Their dynamic's pretty funny, and them both being voiced by Tom Kenny just goes to show his range and talent, especially beyond the role of SpongeBob, including the talent Tom Kenny offers in comedy and writing, which will be important to remember for the ending of the show. There's a lot of other interesting overlaps between the staff and production of Camp Lazlo and SpongeBob. One thing you might not know is before creating Camp Lazlo, showrunner Joe Murray created Rocko's Modern Life, the cartoon about the wallaby handling the challenges of daily life as a young adult living on his own. The showrunner of SpongeBob, Steven Hillenburg, rest in peace, actually got his first job in the animation industry as a director on Rocko's Modern Life. Like, it's possible SpongeBob may not have existed without Rocko's Modern Life and Joe Murray. The two artists met at the 1992 Ottawa International Animation Festival, where they both had films in competition. Hillenburg mentions how he planned to potentially be a starving artist before meeting Murray. Quote, "I spent several $1,000s to make a film and realized I may not make it back. I had loans out. Fortunately, Joe Murray saw my film and he took a huge chance." I just think it's such a cool, crazy story, but it's important to acknowledge a lot of people draw a comparison between SpongeBob and Camp Lazlo, and it often seems to insinuate Camp Lazlo as being a little derivative of SpongeBob. Like, they both star happy-go-lucky characters with unwavering loyalty to their organization and a selfish boss. You can make the argument they have similar story structure, but I personally think they're distinct shows I love for different reasons. What's interesting is reading the hook Joe Murray created for SpongeBob in his book. The hook for the show, not the hooks.
Beware the hooks.
The hooks?
Aye, the hooks.
Murray describes SpongeBob as a hardworking yellow sponge in tight brown pants that tries to fit in with his undersea community, much to the dismay of his neighbors. You could say Lazlo acts pretty similarly, just replace the term sponge with monkey, undersea community with camp. But aside from the premise, Lazlo and SpongeBob aren't that similar, so it's really interesting to see Murray's take on the premise of SpongeBob and the premise of Camp Lazlo. Also, if SpongeBob's creator Steven Hillenburg got his start directing on Rocko, could that possibly mean Lazlo is like SpongeBob because SpongeBob is like Rocko? Lazlo's cabin mate, Clam, is a relatively quiet rhino that often just repeats the last word of what's being said.
I wish we had unbroken neat stuff at Camp Kidney.
No need stuff.
Which to this day is still funnier to me than it should be. On the other hand, Raj is an Indian elephant, so of course they gave him an Indian accent.
The most beautiful vacation spot in the Prickly Pines Tri-Country area.
I've previously mentioned the topic of voice actors more accurately representing the characters they play, and how it's become more of a significant concern over the past 5 years or so, possibly being raised by the notable concern revolving around Apu on The Simpsons. But running in the mid-2000s, Raj was voiced by Jeff Bennett, who is not Indian, but among many big roles he's had, he may be recognized most of fans of Cartoon Network as the voice of Johnny Bravo.
Sassy. Man, I'm pretty.
I still can't believe Johnny and Raj are the same character.
Hello, 911 emergency. There's a handsome guy in my house. Oh, wait a second, cancel that. It's only me.
Also, the theme song is pure evil. Like, there's no way this theme should be lodged in my head like this. The different pitches of the L-A-Z-O-O playing in my head is one thing, but these taxidermies singing animals, these damn animals, what's his name is like in loop in my head forever. This is what it sounds like walking around this weekend. So the last thing I want to quickly mention before talking about Camp Lazlo's ending was the art and premise, because they're such a breath of fresh air. I really love the setting of a summer camp, and Joe Murray goes on to say that the camp setting was based not only on his own experiences going to summer camp for 5 years as a kid, but also his desire to make a show involving nature, without all the technology and futuristic themes Joe noticed were becoming prevalent in animation. I think the show's retro feel is part of why the show still holds up so well for me, even if it may skew a little younger than other cartoons. Like, this show intended to create a retro yet timeless environment, and it's kind of funny to think this technology cleanse was being done before the iPhone even came out. Murray talks about the calming effects of the nature in older cartoons like Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes, Yogi Bear, and the intent to parallel this in the art style of Camp Lazlo. We see the color palette of the show is very natural earth tones, primarily browns, greens, and yellows, while also being pretty muted. The color goes a long way with the characters too. Murray breaks down the characters of the show into a first tier and a second tier, with the first tier consisting of Lazlo, Raj, Clam, Lumpus, and Slinkman. The characters in the first tier were deliberately designed brighter than those in the second tier, Edward, Samson, and the twins, who were pretty white and gray and dull, so that the main ones would dominate the screen. Their shape language is pretty simple, being mostly rounded shapes, with the heads and faces often being combos of rounded rectangles, and sometimes you see two characters interact, like Lazlo and his angry co-camper Edward, and I say to myself, they're like so similar shape-wise, but Lazlo's got this banana smile for a mouth, and Edward basically has the same shape, but it's a beak instead, and upside down, cause he's frowning. A lot of the tidbits I've gone over are from Joe Murray's book called Creating Cartoons with Character. I totally recommend to anyone of any level of experience with animation to check out. I bought it years ago, but in recent years it's been pretty expensive to buy online, so Joe Murray actually lists it as a free ebook on his website because he's just an absolute king, so I'll include it in the description to check out after this video. Now, it was when I was reading this book that I found out about the ending of Camp Lazlo, which shocked me, because I thought I had basically seen every episode of the show before, but despite how many times I've watched the show, it never occurred to me it would have had an actual conclusion, let alone a crazy one. So let's just get into the premise of the episode. The final episode, Lumpus' Last Stand, starts with the Scoutmaster Lumpus sleeping in a lawn chair outside. The dirty campers stand around sadly holding their laundry, but Lumpus doesn't feel like going to the laundromat.
I simply turn my clothes inside out and let the breeze clean them.
And I just know his Falco is crispy as hell. Lumpus begrudgingly goes to the laundromat, and I think he was put in the wash because he spits out water in a laundry sheet when he gets back. Slinkman tries to comfort Lumpus by putting on his freshly dried socks, but he realizes they must have lost one of his socks at the laundromat, which drives Lumpus into a rage over a sock. So Lumpus writes a letter to Slinkman stating that he's going to escape into the woods to be free of laundry, its inconvenience, and the time it wastes. And just look at how he writes the letter. It gives me every time that he writes the letter with his antler like a quill tip. In writing the letter, Lumpus spills ink on his foot, but it's like the exact color and length of one of his socks, which gives Lumpus the idea to paint his entire body so he can walk around naked and no longer need to wear clothes or do laundry ever again. Lazlo's shocked to see Lumpus' new uniform, but instead of calling child services or whatever, everyone thinks it's just a new leather scout uniform, and follows suit of painting their own uniforms. It's pretty funny to see here, like Edward has that shit on, I won't even lie. And Lazlo paints himself invisible, which gives me more questions than answers. An officer rides by on his bike, seeing everyone painting clothes on themselves, and instead of arresting Lumpus for several reasons, he asks him to pass the paint. The funniest part of this is that he asks him to paint his bike too, which turns it from a bike into a motorcycle, which is so funny. These magical technological advances leads to Lumpus being honored by the town, as his invention of laundryless paint clothes gave people the time and freedom to work on other things like time travel and solving world hunger. We see a time machine appear with two citizens from 1,000 years in the future who come to worship the man responsible for solving world hunger, but during Lumpus' speech, a rain cloud comes in and washes everyone's clothes off, revealing Lumpus' intention to be a lazy, get-rich-quick scheme and turning everyone against him. Everyone desperately grabs clothes from the time traveler's honorary statue of the last dirty load of laundry, and this buff pelican dude wears a scout uniform like an armband. But before everyone can give Lumpus a piece of their mind, an ambulance pulls up, revealing a steer Lumpus locked in the closet all summer while he acted as scoutmaster. The steer strongly resembles Heifer Wolf from Rocko's Modern Life, who was also voiced by Tom Kenny, and while Murray originally wanted Heifer Wolf to actually be the initial counselor, it was understandably denied by the network. I mean, hey, you're going out, you might as well go out in style, right? And it's a pretty funny homage. Fortunately, people were still able to draw the connection between this alleged scoutmaster and Heifer Wolf, so it's pretty funny. Lumpus getting a straitjacket put on him, as it's revealed he's escaped from an asylum and posed as scoutmaster, is so scary, yet hilarious. Like, not only did he kidnap someone, probably damn near killing them, but not being an actual scoutmaster put so many moments into an even funnier context. context. Like, oh, maybe this is why Lumpus is too lazy to do a lot of things that benefit the scouts, or why he's not really good at a lot of camping stuff. Like, even the first episode of the whole show is about Lumpus struggling to catch a fish, and not wanting help from the other campers. Maybe a real Scoutmaster would have had an easier time catching a fish. It's funny this surprise twist ending doesn't really affect my perspective of other episodes, but what's even funnier is the story of how this ending came to be. In Joe Murray's book, Creating Cartoons with Character, he reveals the idea for Scoutmaster Lumpus to be arrested as a fraud to end the show was actually Tom Kenny's idea. Quote, Tom Kenny was so involved with Scoutmaster Lumpus and brought so much to that character. He lived and breathed him. During one recording session where Lumpus was an extraordinarily diabolical, deviant sociopath, Tom joked that at the end of the series, we should reveal that Lumpus had locked the real Scoutmaster in the closet and that he was really a patient from the local asylum. I remember saying. Can I use that? Now, it might seem a bit odd for the conclusion of a show to be written or suggested by a voice actor, but Tom Kenny is so special even among voice actors. Not just for his talent with his voice, but from the input and experience he provides as a stand-up comedian and sketch comedy artist, among many of his talents and ventures. Kenny talks about how the experience with comedy and improv give him the ability to enhance characters when given the freedom and opportunity to do so, but it also comes down to a strong understanding of character. Tom Kenny talks about how he would read through the entire script for an episode so he can understand the story before performing, and by extension, the character. In a way, this crazy ending to Camp Lazlo is a testament to the extraordinary understanding of character between Murray and Kenny. So that's the crazy twist ending to a show that holds a really special place to me. Camp Lazlo lodged itself in probably my favorite era of Cartoon Network, among some of the best shows ever made in my opinion, and always stuck to a unique style, maintaining the integrity of a show that was kind and funny, but questioned authority, that had such unique music and ambiance, charming designs and color theory, yet avoided being preachy with lessons and morals. Yet, despite this, created a timeless environment of kindness and empathy among the wackiness to take away from. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and let me know your favorite character or what show you'd want me to cover in the future. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Bye.